In this presentation, you will learn about the comparative method. The basic operation in the comparative method is an arrangement of social or cultural conditions observed among existing peoples into a series that is then taken to represent a process of evolution. The comparative method was born in 1888 in a paper by Edward Burnett Tylor, which he delivered to the Royal Anthropological Institute. It was developed out of the concern towards anthropological methods. To quote his words, "For years past it has become evident that the great need of anthropology is that its methods should be strengthened and systematized. Strict method has, however, as yet only been introduced over part of the anthropological field. There has still to be overcome a certain not unkindly hesitancy on the part of men engaged in the precise operations of mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, to admit that the problems of anthropology are amenable to scientific treatment." Tylor argued from a sample of 350 societies that the evolution of cultural complexity leads from matrilineal to patrilineal institutions. In the book The Methodology of Anthropological Comparison, Sarana talks about three types of comparative method: global sample comparison, controlled comparison, and illustrative comparison. Anthropologist, when he makes a comparative study, he or she makes three levels of comparison: comparison of a single society with other societies. He compares two institutions of a society with similar institutions of other societies. He compares the institutions within single society. Several Indian anthropologists have been using comparative method too, like Karve, N.K. Bose, Srinivas, etc. The comparative method has two dimensions. Synchronic: here the data is seen from a given point of time in a society. That is, past is not given much importance. This approach was used by functionalists like Malinowski, Radcliffe Brown. Diachronic observes society as they change through time in specific geographical location. In this approach, historical dimension is used, whereby old traditions, folklore is given lots of importance to build the past. Diachronic approach is important to reconstruct the origin of mankind and his culture. There is also cross-cultural comparative perspective, a scientific approach in anthropology which tries to find out the regularities, patterns, generalizations, rules or laws which deal with human and social behavior. The aim is to make macro-analysis and making generalization of things. Hamel notes that by using comparative method, Tylor thought of comparing 19th century and traced the history. The comparative method was initially used by the armchair anthropologists. They tried to look into the parallels, similarities in different societies, both in the past and the present. Till the 19th century, majority of comparative studies were based on secondary sources. Comparison method works on the basic idea of availability of basic notes and documents. Historians have been using archival materials since long. The early implementation of comparative method was accepted to draw human behavior and the function and conclusions about historical development. He also points out that reliable comparisons cannot be made between data sets that are not governed by similar theoretical intent, techniques of collection, and types of classification. So following this method is difficult even with computation and technological development. Boas, on the other hand, in his paper, writes about the problems with comparative method. We have in this method a means of reconstructing the history of growth of ideas with much greater accuracy than the generalization of the comparative method. Boas also points out the processes of growth of small geographical areas which should also be made rather than just comparing societies. Comparative method, according to him, won't be successful until we renounce the endeavor to make uniform history of evolution of culture. Through comparative method, anthropologists try to develop the past and learn about the laws of the social processes. It also helps to make classification of the categories like caste, class, and groups. I hope you now have a better understanding of the comparative method. Thank you for watching the presentation. Do like, subscribe, share, and leave your comments about this presentation or any other topics you would like to learn more about.